What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we are going to be talking about the Spyderco Dragonfly. And this particular version of the knife is a Knifejoy exclusive, and it's the FRN handles locked back with a Damascus blade. So let me give you a tour of the knife and we can get started. What you've got here, this is a very small knife. It's more of a kind of a secondary fifth pocket knife for me. Blade is sub 2.5 inches, probably to about 2 3/8 to thereabouts. And this is a Damascus blade. Now, one of the things that kind of bothers me a little bit of this one is that it's just your plain Damascus steel, right? And whenever they say Damascus steel, it's the equivalent of whenever they say, you know, stainless steel or surgical stainless or German steel, right? It means absolutely nothing, right? Because Damascus, all it is a layers of two different kinds of steel. And for all I know, they use two crap steels, and when they mush them together, you end up with a crap steel that is mushed together. It's beautiful, it has beautiful patterns, but man, I wish that they, you know, that they've done, you know, obviously Damascus steel would be top of the line, but even something like a Chad Nichols Damascus or something like that, where we can find out the two steels that are present in the blade. It has it's very much a Spyderco with a lot of the lines of a Spyderco. It's a small knife, but you know, if I choke up, I can get a 4-finger grip on the knife. You've got, it's a lockback, as I said. You got FRN handles and the traditional wire pocket clip of Spyderco. So that's what we've got here, and let me give you some size comparisons. So it's brethren, right? That's the Para 2, and that's the Para 3. And as you can see, they look monstrous, right? In both height, width, thickness, length, everything is just you know, if I close it, look at this. It's kind of the same size as just the blade of the Spyderco. So it is a very, very small knife, kind of a fifth pocket type of a thing. Let me see. Now, if we get it against the bug outs, still, right? Even, I mean, the mini bug out is a fairly small knife, and as you can see, it's just much longer. Now, thickness wise, they're comparable thickness wise. Let me see if I can show you that a little bit better. So there's the thickness of the mini bug out, and here's the thickness of the Dragonfly. So as you can see, very similar in thickness. So but this one is much smaller. So let's start with ergonomics. And ergonomics, the ergonomics on this thing are decent. So this forward half choil, half scale that Spyderco does, they do it in a lot of their knives, right? You can see it. It's present also in the Para 2. You know, where half the choil is in the in kind of the blade area and half of it on the scale. So with that, you end up with a finger here, and then 2 fingers in kind of this larger area, and then the pinky here in the back. So it kind of locks the knife in place. Now, I wear large gloves, and this is just a tad bit small, just because my thumb has to it has to kind of scooch all the way back to kind of land on the thumb rest here. My thumb, you know, naturally wants to fall a little bit more in this forward position over here. So I think, obviously, it's a tiny knife, so it's not meant for my big mitts, right? But you know, for getting a 4-finger grip, you know, in a hammer grip, kind of, sort of, not so comfortable in a saber grip, but I think it has more to do with my size of hands and the size of the knife. I think the ergonomics might be actually for, if you've got medium-sized hands, I think the ergonomics, you will feel this pretty darn good. Now, action on this is kind of non-existent. So it's a lockback, so I have not been able to really spy flick it because what happens is in a lockback, there's kind of resistance all the way through the opening up until this last moment where it kind of locks into place. So I haven't been able to spy flick it. So this is more of a it's a two-handed knife is what it ended up being. Yeah, you can deploy it with a slow rollout, opening it, but I can't get it to close with one hand, right? I need something to push the blade against. So, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not a fan of lockbacks. I'm not a fan of not being able to operate my knife with just one hand, and I like my knives to be fidgety. I do, so you know, something like the mini bug out that you can open and close to your heart's content is much more pleasurable than something like this. Now, I think the ergonomics on this one are a little bit better than the bug out, and like I said, it's more of a secondary blade for me. Whenever I decide to have a secondary blade, in reality, I usually just carry the single blade. But if I decide to carry two, then I'd carry something, you know, small and something like this, you know, something that goes to my fifth pocket. So action, pretty darn dreadful. You can't. The only way to get it out is to deploy it is with a slow rollout, or with really two fingers, and really to close it you kind of need both hands, or you know, put it and push it against, you know, kind of the back of your leg or something like that. So action pretty darn bad. Cutting is pretty darn good. The blade stock is very thin. Let me see if I can show you against the bug out, which is kind of very thin blade here. Let's see. Yeah, so blade stock is thinner than the bug out. Let me see if I can show you this way. So blade stock is thinner than the bug out, and it's even though it starts with a thinner blade stock, the blade is taller and it's a flat grind, so it comes down to a really thin edge. This is very slicey. I think this cuts really well. You're not going to be using this for any hard use. It's too small and the blade is thin. But for EDC tasks, for some lighter use, for some, you know, foot prep, cutting apples, that kind of stuff, this is going to be very slicey. It's probably going to be a small apple because you don't have much of a blade. I mean, the cutting edge on this thing is less than 2 inches, so maybe a small apple. But I think it's super slicey for the not for the size, but because of its blade thickness and the flat blade grind from the top to the bottom. It's a taller blade, as you can see. Like if we compare it to the bug out, right? This one, this one's a little bit taller, and this one carries the flat up to about right here, so maybe call it 10-15% of the blade, and then it starts going down. And this one starts out thinner even, so very slicey. You can expect to have a slicier blade than basically the bug outs, the mini bug outs, the pair 2s and pair 3s, and all of those knives are already very slicey. So this is gonna be very good at cutting with its restrictions on blade size, right? Fit and finish are okay. You know, I would say this one came very well centered. A lot of the Spyderco knives that I've gotten, you know, if I show you like my Manix 2, right? You see that the centering, I haven't been able to really get it to center. They've had some problems with blade centering. you know, my pair of 2 is pretty good, but I changed the scale on it. My pair of 3 is pretty good, but I also changed the scale on it. A lot of the knives that I've been getting from Spyderco have had some centering issues. Not the case with this one, but it's also a result of the lockback, right? Because the lockback doesn't put pressure on the blade sideways, right? Usually the compression lock is pushing against the side of the blade, pushing it to the side, similar to what a frame lock does. Not the case here, right? So you would expect this to be more easily centered or better centered than all of those, you know, a liner lock, a frame lock, or a compression lock. Decent fit and finish, nothing exciting. It's Spyderco. It's kind of a, you know, utilitarian middle of the road, even if this is in the fancier steel. And by fancier, I just mean fancier looking, right? Because I have no idea what the composition of these two steels to generate the Damascus is. So that'll be, it's gonna take me a little while of use to figure out how well the edge holds up on this one. I've had it for a while, but I've only carried it maybe a total of 8 or 10 times. So not enough to really determine edge retention or how well an edge, you know, I'm fortunate that my knife collection is pretty large, so edge retention is something that I struggle to gauge just because I rotate around, you know, a lot of different knives and I'm always testing new ones. The wire pocket clip, it is I have a love-hate relationship with the pocket with the wire pocket clip, just because it's tremendously functional, but it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen in your life. So you know, that's that. Finally, airing of grievances on this. First, I hate FRN. I don't like this. It's good for the texturing of the knife, and it's certainly lightweight. This kind of thing disappears in your pocket. But all of these little grooves and indentations and stuff, they collect all kinds of crud. So I don't like the FRN that Spyderco does. Most of my knives don't have any of that stuff. I would rather see it in the traditional G10, and maybe I get some different scales for this one. Probably not, because I'm kind of, like I said, I'm not gonna say that I'm a steel snob. I'm probably a steel snob. My name is Marco, and I am a steel snob. I like that my knives have at least the steel that I know what it is, and the fact that I don't know what this, I mean, other than Damascus, it bugs me. Again, I'm not a fan of the compression lock, but you can't complain about a compression lock if you bought a compression lock, right? So that's part of the design. It's not part of my airing of grievances. I think for a 5th pocket knife, it's pretty good. It's slicey as heck. It's a very decent ergonomic for a large hand. I think it'd be excellent ergonomics for a medium-sized hand. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say on this one. It's a smaller knife, so it probably won't stick around in my collection. It's a bit too small. But I think if you have medium-sized hands, or you like something, you know, that you want to disappear in your pocket, right, and throw in a pair of shorts or a pair of sweats, this is super lightweight. It is just very, very lightweight. I would probably go with one of a different steel, just something that you know. But other than that, I think it makes a decent little knife if you're looking for something that's this size and this very lightweight. Guys, hopefully this has been helpful to you. If it is, then like and subscribe, and until I see you at the next one, take care.